Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of introducing our last conference session, which is Industry Apprenticeship Programs, Why We Did It. I'd like to introduce the new Executive Director of Workforce Solutions Gulf Coast, Ms. Juliet Stepesh. She, along with the Workforce Board, are strong TWC partners, and we are grateful for their continual support of registered apprenticeship programs. One of the things I admire and appreciate about the Gulf Coast Workforce Board is their ability to adapt and adopt new innovative processes. We're one of the very first workforce boards to support registered apprenticeship programs, and for that we are thankful. Please help me give them a round of applause.
Well, good morning. Looks like we saved one of the best panels for last. So it is a pleasure and an honor to be able to join you here in beautiful McAllen, Texas. My name is Juliet Stepesh. I have the privilege and honor of serving as the new executive director of the Gulf Coast Workforce Board with Workforce Solutions. I've been there since June 6th. So you can imagine it's like drinking from a fire hose. So many different programs, so many people. But I will say, the apprenticeship program is something that has always been very near and dear to my heart. My father was a member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, so I grew up in a home where my father would always talk about the importance of education, continued learning, and about industry. And so today we heard about the opportunities that present when we look at braiding education with industry and community. And so I'm just really excited to be able to pass this over to Crosby Brito to be able to talk about the importance of apprenticeships in the context of them being relational, dynamic, and also responsive. So Crosby Brito has been with our Workforce Solutions Board for 13 years. We are deeply appreciative of his work, his wisdom, and you'll have a wonderful opportunity to get to know more about him and our fantastic partners. Without further ado, Crosby, thank you so much.
Well, greetings everybody from Houston, the Gulf Coast, the 13 counties that we serve in the Houston area. Thank you for sticking around. I know that we all have travel plans. We have a 6-hour drive to go, so I promise you I'm not going to keep you guys long. But we did want to wrap this up, and let me start off by saying I have a big family. I got married very young. My wife and I agreed from the beginning we're going to have a big family. We're going to enjoy. We were, basically in a small family when we were young, so we said let's do the opposite. So I have 6 children. I have 2 girls and I have 4 boys. So when I said we're gonna have a big family, I meant it, and I went all in, right? So I got 4 boys, 2 girls, and the 2 girls are sandwiched in between the boys. But we may need to censor this out, but I've always told our girls, and I've told the boys, girls can kick ass too. And I feel, no. So this was not planned, this was not coordinated, but I feel vindicated because in our panel, we have the only panel that's all female, powerful, ambitious, strong women who are leading their registered apprenticeship programs in their, respective organizations. So I feel vindicated that girls can kick ass too, right? So, all right, well, girl power, I'm gonna be on this side for now, for today. So I did want to introduce our panel and highlight, our panel is unique. We have 3 different organizations, 3 different entities. They are not associated in any way. And some of our panels, we've seen how we have a college who works with an employer. We have an organization who may be an intermediary who handles the apprenticeship, and one of the panel members is an employer. Here I want to highlight that all 3 run their own registered apprenticeship programs. Other than today and the planning that we did to attend this conference, this is the first time that they meet. And we serve a wide area in the Gulf Coast region, Workforce Solutions, so not all employers know each other, right? You'd be surprised. Well, you're the Workforce Board, how come you don't connect everybody? Sometimes you don't. There's just not a connection that is to be made. So it's very interesting. It has been fun that 3 different employers, 3 different organizations that do 3, we can say, completely different things are here today, and we want to relate to everybody here in the audience. We have schools here, we have colleges, we have training entities who may have a registered apprenticeship or maybe thinking a registered apprenticeship, And maybe you're saying, well, I've heard a lot about companies, I've heard a lot about this, how does it make it work? We have Work Texas, Ms. Yasmin, who will be able to talk from an intermediary side, from a training standpoint to say, we have a registered apprenticeship program that we had to cater and we had to customize for different employers. So when we talk to Yasmin, remember, associate if you're a training provider or if you're an employer, keep that perspective in mind. She's going to be talking from a training institution, training entity standpoint. We have the hunting group, Ms. Christine. This is a industry, an occupation that you can say this is traditional, this is craft, it's HVAC, commercial HVAC. We take that for granted. Here in Texas, thank you for all those who work on our HVACs. But she can consider herself, and she may be able to relate for you organizations, employers who do traditional work, and to say, there are so many of us out there, there's so many training opportunities out there, why would we want to do registered apprenticeship? If there's so many HVAC, there's so many carpenters, so many, crafts that are out there, why does registered apprenticeship, how is it going to help me? You will hear from her that although she may be in a traditional industry, training is not the same regardless if it's still the same occupation. You need to customize, and your employer needs and your training needs are going to be different regardless of the industry. And last but not least, we have Myra representing Texas Injection Molding. If you're an employer who says, I'm the only one who does this in the state, in the city, in the country, how is registered apprenticeship going to help me because no one else does what I do? Myra and her organization can relate. They do specialized injection and plastic molding that serves different industries, oil and gas, manufacturing, medical, and retail. And she can relate, and her organization can relate to say, unlike other industries, we can't poach, I heard cannibalize, we can't hire competitors because we have no competition. That's not always a good thing, because now you can't really hire skill, you can't hire people who come with those skills. You have to develop your own. So today we want to close out our session again with 3 different viewpoints, 3 different needs, perhaps to say in that way. A training standpoint or a training institution standpoint, a traditional craft, and a specialty industry. And why registered solution was the solution, or why registered apprenticeship, was a solution. We had a question yesterday, we had a lot of great questions about why is this the best kept secret? I'm not too sure if this is a secret anymore, but it is something, and if for all of us that shop on Amazon, I go on a shopping spree and I order a bunch of crap and it's just stored right there and I never open the box, right? Because at the moment I wanted it, and once it gets there, it's like, I'll use it later. And it reminds me of a big purchase that you make. You needed it, you were desperate, you got it. But once it arrived, you're kind of procrastinating because you don't feel like opening it, you don't feel like putting it together. Registered apprenticeship is not necessarily a secret. It's there for you to access, but sometimes you're afraid of opening it because of maybe the components that it's going to take to put it together. And we hope that with this conference, you feel a little bit more comfortable that by the time you open it, it's not as complicated as it may seem. So hopefully we can answer questions, hopefully we can have a good conversation, and maybe it could make you relate to the different challenges that you may be experiencing in your workforce. So we're going to start off with our employers, the hunting group and Texas Injection Molding. And Christine, we'll start with you, the hunting group. So you're coming from a traditional, what we call traditional, commercial HVAC. Just recruiting alone for that occupation, that industry, is challenging, right? Let's put registered apprenticeship to the side. Why is it hard to find people and quality workers for your job?
Sure. So even though we are a traditional trade, it is still very hard to find qualified, knowledgeable help. We have an industry that has a lot of our technicians retiring. They're of that age and they're getting ready to leave. And with trades and apprenticeship and, training for specific trades, having that period of time where it wasn't a popular option, there's a big gap. There's not enough to fill the need. In Houston alone, where we're based, there's hundreds of HVAC companies, many that do exactly what we do. And they're our competitors. We are all feeding from the same pool, and we all take from each other. Poaching, cannibalizing, that's what's there. So so many getting ready to leave, our subject matter experts getting ready to leave, there simply isn't enough to come in. And that's our main issue, is finding those qualified, knowledgeable candidates to get them in the jobs that we need them in.
Right. So Myra, in your industry, in your organization, you're a specialty. So you may not have, you could say, that maybe privilege of finding people and calling competitors because there's not a competition. So how does that make your job harder?
So we're a custom injection molding company, and obviously there's different types of molding, but specifically for injection, to find a process technician, mold technician, tooling, maintenance, it's like a needle in a haystack. It is very difficult. And so for us, the best way to handle the situation would be to grow within and train our current employees that have shown loyalty and would want to pursue some type of position like that. And even just the entry-level positions, the hourly, the operators that are out there on the floor, you know, they're the entry-level positions and don't get paid very much. So when we get those positions filled, these people are coming from retail, from food service. Never have they handled a machine. They walk into the floor and they see 30 presses out there and they're so intimidated. And so training and the apprenticeship was very important to us so that we could get these people's feet wet so that they would not be intimidated by the different industry that they're coming into.
Right. Now we're going to shift to a training standpoint, training entity. So Work Texas, Yasmin, you guys provide a wide range of training aside from apprenticeship. And there's a lot of support that you provide. And for those who may not know, out in Houston, we have our own celebrity called Mattress Mac, Gallery Furniture, if you guys have ever heard of him. And his mad scientist is back here, Mike Feinberg, which and together with him, put together a training side of Gallery Furniture to help the population and the community to be trained. And there's a whole side of this that I hope you guys take some time to read, but Work Texas provides a wide range of training, not only registered apprenticeship, but provides traditional, courses, classes to help our community get better skills. So from a training standpoint, you get feedback from the employers. Employers tell you all the time, and again, we love our community colleges. We have a lot of community colleges here today, and this is by no means a reflection of you. This is just sometimes, and some of the obstacles that we face where employers will tell you that curricula doesn't always match industry, or the curricula needs to be updated to match the current needs. So I'm sure you hear about that a lot, right? What do employers tell you about the people that they hire, and what made you say, you know what, maybe we need to take matters into our own hands and start an apprenticeship? So if you could tell us a little bit about what you do as a training provider and lead into the employer feedback and how you developed what you developed.
Absolutely. So we partner with various entities to provide the education portion, the classroom portions for registered apprenticeship, but also for the other trainings that are not a registered apprenticeship. The employers that we've engaged, we've talked to over maybe 90 employers in the last year. The feedback is that most of the time what they're learning, what the students are learning in the classroom is not exactly what the employee needs on day one. So we listen to their feedback, and just to share an example, one of the trainings that we offer is welding. And so we invited an employer partner to come in and to observe what was happening in the classroom. Is this the type of welding that our students can go and apply and get a job? What we were finding when we were looking for employment for our students was that most employers wanted 2 years plus of experience. Well, our students don't have that. They're very green, very entry level. The employers came in and said, you know what, you're doing the right thing, you're training, but this is not the type of the training that we need. With that feedback, we took it into account. We talked to our training partner and said, hey, they have jobs. They have a new location starting. The type of welding that we need to shift that to more fabrication. Together, we created a partnership with this company who now is planning to hire the students upon completion of the training that they're going to get, because we now incorporated that. So it's very important to collaborate, to have the employers be the ones to dictate what it is that they need on day one, because otherwise we're training and just training and training.
So we know there's challenges. Just finding people, period, is hard, right? When you interview them, they tell you what you want to hear. Kind of like a first date, right? How many guys here lied on their first date? Yeah, I know, I was one of them. So you lie to get on the date, you lie the second date, and then sooner or later the lies start coming out, right? That just happens. It's no different for employment. You need to sell yourself. You need to make yourself shine. You can't blame the candidate all the time for trying to get their foot in the door, but it's a risk as an employer to bring in unskilled, unprepared talent. So we've heard the challenges that you're not always going to find the person that you need regardless of the occupation, right? The skills have to match what you're doing. So let's talk about a little bit about the how. We already understand why. There's a challenge. You can't find what you need. Then we're going to talk about how we did it and how we got this program registered. We've heard from Department of Labor staff. We've heard about Office of Apprenticeship. We've heard about workforce boards. So I'm sure there's other ways, but you can highlight 3 ways. If you're interested in a registered apprenticeship program, you can contact 3 different entities. You either contact your Department of Labor representative, who is assigned to your location, and find out more to say, look, this is what I do. What curriculum can I piggyback off of so I can start my own program? You can call Office of Apprenticeship. We're always going to be here to help. I mean, we've heard nothing but praise from that team, from the A team today, but they're always willing to tell you, this is another organization who does similar to what you're talking about. We can use this as a starting point so you don't have to start from scratch. But a little bit biased, but the most important people you can call is always your workforce board. We can always provide you connections to those, but we can also support you with the recruiting and the resources that you may need. And we're going to talk about that a little bit further down as we wrap up. So what I want to hear is how did you implement it? So, and we're going to start with Texas Injection Molding, Myra. So specialty company, it was hard to find people who were confident in doing the work. They were intimidated because they were new. You already trained. You already had to train. How did you implement the registered apprenticeship? What is it? Walk us through when it just clicked to say, we're doing this anyways. And maybe I'm answering it for you, but go ahead and repeat it if you have to.
So Texas Injection Molding has always been really big about training their employees. So we have been doing it since day one. I've been with the company for the last 7 years and have seen the company grow from about 70 employees to 170 that we have right now. Press-wise, too, we have 15 presses, and now we have about 30. So we've grown a lot and have been doing training. Well, COVID hit, and we lost our training software that we had. This is not our first rodeo working with TWC and DOL. We have worked with them before to try to get our employees trained through the community college. But given that we're manufacturing and we run so lean, I have 3 shifts, and so to train my employees, I have to schedule them specifically so that they don't fall asleep during the training, so that our subject matter expert out there on the floor has time to actually train them on the hands-on job out there. And so we had done the training before, we lost our software, and we had to get complete new software for injection molding to start training our employees again. And so we started our process, and we had partnered before, and we did make a call to, I believe, Ann. Jeff knows Ann, and Crosby definitely helped us out a lot. There is paperwork involved, but nothing rocket science. It's a couple of sheets, and they were very helpful to get us going in the process. You do have to stay on top of it, and I mean, you want this, so you will get through it and give it a moment so they process everything, and then it just goes from there. But that's how we started our process.
Christine, how about you? What made you decide that registered apprenticeship was a solution to maybe one or several of the problems that you had? And then how did you go about the registration? Maybe for someone here today who has doubts, not sure how to register the program, walk us through the thought process and maybe some thinking points and maybe some tips for the audience.
So our program and its registration is pretty new. Just over a year, we've been registered with the Department of Labor, and we saw a need to do that basically because we were doing it anyway. We love our colleges, we love our trade schools. other training entities, but with us being more commercial and industrial HVAC, we found that those entities train more towards residential. And there's a big difference. A lot of people don't realize that, but what it comes down to is the fundamentals. They're going to be the same whether you are in residential or, you know, heavier commercial, heavier industrial. It's how you apply them. So if you can get that ground foundation, lay that framework, that's good. But further training does need to happen. So we were doing it anyway. Registering our apprentice program to us was more of legitimizing the program. And also for those apprentices, they work very hard, and it's a huge accomplishment to go through a program like this. For HVAC, it's a 4-year or in some cases a 5-year program. That's a big commitment and a lot of work, and we wanted to give something back to them, the certificate from the Department of Labor being that. So our personal registration process was kind of a shot in the dark because I didn't find Crosby until way too late in the game, but I'm very blessed to have him now. We went directly to the Department of Labor. I am new to this industry and this trade, and I love it, but that left me with a little bit of a gap. So I just did my research, and I found Department of Labor is where you need to go. So I went there directly with the help of them and lots of emails and counseling back and forth. I realized this process is more easy than I thought it would be, and that was kind of getting in my head. I thought it should be harder. It's not very hard. Like you said, Myra, there's a few forms. And for us, and where we differ from Myra, is we are a classic. We are a traditional trade. So they already have apprentice framework built for HVAC. We used that, and then we just customized it to be more industrial and commercial for what we needed for our apprentices and what we needed them to be trained on. So curriculum had the framework, we just further developed it for our specific need.
Right. And Yasmin, you're a training entity again. You train anyways. You're training. Why register apprenticeship? What made you decide we need to have, aside from traditional trainings, we need to have registered apprenticeships? Walk us through how the idea came about, what the employers told you, and then what route you took to register your programs.
So the registered apprenticeship model matches up with Work Texas' mission, which is to help people get jobs, keep jobs in advance in their careers. So it was a win-win situation when pairing it with registered apprenticeship, when thinking of that model. With employers, I feel like I had an advantage, the fact that I already knew the workforce solution system, but there's incentives that are tied with registered apprenticeship for the industries, for the businesses, and I'm very happy that our local workforce board designates funding to support those and pairs on-the-job training service with registered apprenticeship. So in my role, I'm educating the employers on those benefits and connecting them to the workforce solution services. It matches up with the employers because, again, they're already doing the training themselves. We are sharing the standards of apprenticeship with them. We're sharing curriculum that we're already instituting to see where the gaps are, what needs to be adjusted and modified to fit their needs. And it's a win-win for them because they are now retaining qualified employees.
And for those, the workforce board, workforce solutions staff present, I'm sure we've all heard of ETPL. You know, sometimes I wake up at 3 in the morning, ETPL. And it's all right. Mr. Cerna, no offense, I love you. But we love it, right? It's a resource, it's a tool. We weren't the first ones to do it. Gulf Coast, we're not the first. We won't say we were the only or the first. But I think collectively, we need to start thinking of what is already out there. We've had a lot of questions as to who's going to support registered apprenticeships. The grants are great, and that's a solution that we never imagined would exist. But what if the grants aren't there? What if you don't get it? What if the grant doesn't start until afterwards? We need to leverage what we have right now. There's no law, there's no policy that prohibits it. On the contrary, it supports it. So for all those ETPL nightmares that we have, there is still a positive behind it. So in Gulf Coast, we leverage the ETPL to support the training aspect for the registered apprenticeship training. If the registered apprenticeship is for a brand-new employee, we then leverage on-the-job training. And on-the-job training, we all know it's a service that reimburses an employer 75% if it's a registered apprenticeship for up to 640 hours. If you told the employer, take a chance on somebody on potential, you're gonna train them your way, okay? You don't have to pay them $30 an hour. Pay them the rate that you decide to put on your curriculum and your standards of apprenticeship, which doesn't have to be the max, but let's set a good standard rate. Train them your way, and on the other end, we're going to support by reimbursing you 75% of the new employee's wages for up to 640 hours. That doesn't come close to covering the cost of hiring somebody. But if I were taking a risk, the risk is a little bit lesser. So use your resources. And workforce boards, hopefully I'm not making you or going to get you busy or in trouble, but employers and training entities have conversations. What else is out there to leverage? And that's what we feel proud that we're able to support, because this was a big jump, it was a big implementation. It doesn't always fit. You can hire 50 people, not all 50 people are going to qualify for ETPL and on-the-job training. But when you have those conversations up front to say, even if it's just one, we're happy and we're proud that we can say that we supported you with one. We supported you with reimbursing you funds for just one person. So aside from the resources and the support that you're able to receive, tell us about the benefit. So have you used registered apprenticeship? And Myra, we'll start with you. Have you used registered apprenticeship for brand new employees? Is it for existing employees? And what's been the difference between those employees who are in the apprenticeship compared to others who were not put in the apprenticeship?
So, as I mentioned with our growth, we knew we needed to hire more of those specialized jobs, and we knew we had the loyalty of some of those employees, and we had to build them. So we partner up with Routus, which is our plastic injection molding training. So our employees will have the software training and the on-the-job training. So we are growing those mold setters to become process technicians. They have hours of trainings that they have to go through. They have the on-the-job training that they go through. And then I have those operators, like I mentioned, that will come in and they would start with the fundamentals of injection molding, watching those videos, practicing. But having a program like this has helped us overall as a company. I'll recruit people for other positions, and they see that we have a solid training program. And it just gives them the confidence that they're coming into a company that if I'm hiring somebody new from out there, they're gonna know what they're doing eventually. So culture-wise, it's helped us a lot. Building up our own people has helped us a lot. So we use our apprenticeship program not just for newly hired people, but also for the people that we have within the company to build them up.
Yeah, Christine, you implemented for new employees, existing employees, both. Walk us through who you implemented for and the difference and the overall success.
We're similar as well, so we use both. We'll bring in somebody brand new, greenhorn, and train them, put them in the apprentice program, teach them those fundamentals, everything to have them set to go out on their own. But we also do take from colleges. We take from trade schools. We have to. There's not any option. So we will take from there as well and train them to, like I said earlier, cater to our business. And sometimes that means OJT, utilizing the OJT program through Workforce Solutions, but sometimes that means putting them in an apprentice program. Maybe they didn't get what they needed out of that college experience and that trade school experience, and we're finding a lot of gaps. To assess that, we give them an assessment. Just see where their skills are, see where their gaps are, and if we feel like we can get them there through OJT, we're gonna do OJT. It's an easier, more economical option, but we also think that you don't always have to start from scratch. It's sometimes just building and showing them. A lot of our training is equipment specific, so those might be some of the gaps. Somebody that doesn't have a good understanding of fundamentals in the foundation, that's who we then need to put in the apprentice program. They need that attention. So we kind of utilize a hybrid, and we'll do the OJT, and that's been very successful for us. It helps give an opportunity to somebody that maybe otherwise wouldn't be picked for the position. They don't have that 2 years of experience, or they don't have this specific training in this specific thing. OJT will allow them to get that and get right up to speed. That's worked beautifully for us.
Yeah, and we've heard that a lot in this conference, right? Registered apprenticeship can be for anybody. It could be for your current workforce. Reward your loyal workforce. Let's upskill them, and then you can bring in brand new employees to fill in their spot. Or you can begin to develop your workforce by putting brand new employees to registered apprenticeship. There's nothing that tells you you can't do one or the other. It's based on your need, and that's what's wonderful about what we're doing, is that even if the feds and Big Brother and government is involved, they still let you do it your way. So we can shy away from worrying that somebody's looking after us. So Yasmina, how do the employers implement registered apprenticeship, and where is the need the most? Is it both? New employees, existing employees? Tell us a little bit about how the employers reach out to you with their needs, what their needs are.
The employers that we're partnering with are using registered apprenticeship for new hires. They're leveraging the on-the-job training. They may even leverage work-based learning first as a stackable service. They're using it for new employees. And in our arena, we're using the group apprenticeship model, which means that we get several employers within one specific industry to take on the apprentices. So it's not one company who's hiring all. I think that's been very difficult for one company to do so.
Yeah, and you have what we call a group apprenticeship, right? What industries, what occupations do you provide registered apprenticeship training for?
We do HVAC, plumbing, and recently building maintenance. We are working on another one we're going to send off to ETPL and to you guys, but it's rigging.
Got it. And at one point, you dipped into customer service, right? Customer relations, customer service. Tell us a little bit about that program, because we hear, again, this is not craft only. This is based on your need. We have specialty, we have craft. There's even a customer service, customer relations. How important is it for us to call somewhere, to chat somewhere, and for somebody to care about a problem? It's amazing that you need training so you can care and have empathy for others. But if that training doesn't exist, no one's going to care about any of our concerns when we're calling about a bill or chatting about a bill. But tell us about that program, because we found that interesting too, that's not for that. You know, registered apprenticeship is not for food. Registered apprenticeship is not for an office. Why? Bigger jobs. There's no such thing as a big job. Every job builds, right, and is important for everything that we do. So tell us about that customer service.
Yes, customer service is an occupation that we have listed under our sponsorship. Just so you know, Mattress Mac developed a curriculum alongside with HTC, and it's called the Mattress Mac School of Selling. And if anyone knows how to sell, it is Mattress Mac. We're excited to build and develop that into an apprenticeship program with other partners. We are speaking to employers to talk about their wages, what the trajectory is in that industry. But we know that customer service is in everything that we do and that we need it. So we'll be finalizing the curriculum to that soon.
So to close out, make a final statement, and then I'll let them add on to the statement. But over the years with registered apprenticeship, there's one thing that comes to mind. So I wear glasses, right? If I didn't want to wear glasses, I can go get LASIK surgery, and that would provide a solution to my problem. I remember I went one time to do a consultation for LASIK, and they said it was going to cost you this much. I said, what the heck? Why would it be that much? I mean, it's just going to take like 5 minutes. Well, I said, well, if you want your problem solved, you're going to have to pay this much. Well, doesn't the insurance pay for it? The insurance is going to pay this much, but if you want the problem solved, you need to pay this much. Several years later, registered apprenticeship is a surgery. If you don't need it, don't go looking for it. But if you have a problem and you cannot find a solution to the problem, it's worth the investment that you're going to make. TWC cannot pay for the surgery. DOL cannot pay for the surgery. Workforce Solutions and your boards are not going to be able to pay for the surgery. We may be able to support it, but we can all relate that if we had a problem, if we had a dire need, we would do whatever it took to get that surgery so we can recover and go about. Our workforce has a big problem. it needs surgery. But if you're not willing to invest a little bit in it, then you may not need it as bad. So we cannot shove registered apprenticeship down your throat. It has to be something that you had. And we've all heard that we had 3 different challenges here. So to close out, we don't have to talk about bottom line. We don't want to talk about income and right, and how much money, but the return of investment. I've heard 3 things that you guys all said. We were doing this anyway. Was registered apprenticeship an expensive investment, or was it just something that you already did anyways and there was no cost? If we can talk a little bit about that, and we'll finish that up. What's the return of investment overall, registered apprenticeship?
So for us, yes, as we mentioned, we were already doing it, but putting it together with the apprenticeship, having the outline and having all our employees go through it, it just added to it. We were able to add more of the software to it because we have the funds to be able to help with this part of the training. It helps build the employee. I mean, yeah, let's not talk about the bottom line. Let's talk about how it built up our culture, how it gives them the confidence to go in there and do the job, how they know that we're investing on them as employees. So for us, we were already doing it, but I definitely think it added a lot more value as how we presented it to our employees.
Exactly, it's an investment in the employees. There is, of course, going to be cost, depending on what you do, more or less. It's a sacrifice you have to make, but it does create retention as well, and appreciation and loyalty, to name a few. We have new incoming apprentices, but we also have many divisions within our organization at the Hutton Group. And somebody might want to come from what we call special projects, very specialized, electrician, pipe fitters, welders, and maybe they've seen how technicians work, and they want to get involved with that. It's creating opportunities for those individuals, letting them reach their own personal goals. And having programs like this in your company, that means something, because now they don't have to go out and invest money that they might not have to get that for themselves, to achieve those goals. You're providing it for them.
Yasmin, what's the feedback you receive from employers and their return of investment and using this strategy to solve their training needs?
Yeah, there's definitely a benefit to that. And employers are starting to utilize registered apprenticeship more and more. Retention, culture, the things that these ladies have said, it all applies across with the various employers that we're speaking to.
Right. Well, we're going to wrap up by saying, again, this is a solution to one or many of your workforce problems. It has to be a good fit. Don't be intimidated by the process. Again, girl power, because these ladies were not intimidated by DOL or TWC or the paperwork. In their positions, they have a big responsibility of ensuring that training is conducted and the right people are hired. And they took it upon themselves to investigate, to learn, to study. I've tried all these other solutions. Which one haven't I tried? And that was registered apprenticeship. This can be a solution for your current workforce. There can be a solution for a brand new workforce. But Workforce Solutions and Workforce Board staff, if you're not out there and we don't know what this is about, we're putting our employers in a difficult position because we're letting them go do the research for themselves. When we are tasked, we have taken an oath that we're going to provide this consultation for them. So this is a challenge for all Workforce Solutions, Workforce staff. You don't have to sell it. You don't have to promote it. Just be aware of it, because when a problem arises, it's up to us to provide that solution. So that concludes our panel, but these ladies are willing to take any questions, and we'll let you go on by your way. So if there's any questions, please feel free.
Yes, hello. My name is Eloy Garza with Career Bridge. We specialize in a software to help develop, facilitate, track, and manage work-based learning. But for the last 10 years, I've served as a CTE educator in the classroom. I don't really so much have a question as more as a few validating comments. The work that all of you in this room is doing is amazing. And as a CTE teacher for the last 10 years, this is like a dream come true. Because there aren't enough organizations that are in the community that support the work that we do in the classroom as much as we would love. And so as you are, this amazing room of people, as you are leaving and going back to your communities, think about the teachers in the classroom and the struggles that they have. Engage with them to provide mentorships that will lead to pre-apprenticeships, that will lead to apprenticeships. I mean, if you really want to truly build your pipeline, think about the students that are 15 years old taking their second year in a CTE course. What are they doing? And how are they confirming that your industry is the industry that's going to push them into future success? Give them internships. Provide them with the experience, the hands-on opportunities to engage with you, with your organizations, with the phenomenal people as the people on the panel, to confirm to them that they are making the right choice with their futures. And I've just felt compelled to come and talk about this because COVID really did hurt our kids. I mean, it hurt everyone, certainly, but there are some students now that they're struggling, and they need direction. And the teachers in the classroom, we need you. We need you more now than ever. And so please continue to consider them. Think about mentorships, capstone projects, internships, and all of these will lead to phenomenal pre-apprenticeships, phenomenal apprenticeships, and you will truly build the pipeline from the ground up and transform your community from within, because everybody goes through a public school, right? Or your school system. So, I mean, this is a full ecosystem that you're building here. It is a dream come true to see apprenticeships being pushed now to this level, not only at the state level, but the federal level. It's something I've been shouting from the rooftops for the last 10 years as a teacher in the classroom. My mission, my purpose was to give my kiddos hands-on experiences. And we developed the first student-led marketing agency, and we helped local small businesses in the community with the work the kiddos were doing. So kudos to all of you, and kudos to the work that you're doing. Thank you for being champions to our students. Thank you.
Eloy, thank you for speaking up for the students and the teachers. Yesterday, I left here with a question as to what are we doing to talk about these things to our middle school kids? I think once they're in high school, it's a little too late maybe, but what are we doing to let the students in middle school at that age level know about the different industries that exist and get them more involved in that?
Great point. I have so many kids, so many field trips, right? But the one thing I remember that every one of my kids that went through 3rd and 4th grade, every year, they all went to go to the fire department and to the police station and somewhere else. So for the next year, they all wanted to be firefighters, they all wanted to be policemen. Hey, that's a great career, and no offense to all those who are here, but that's a great challenge, I think, that I came away with today. Why don't we go to middle schools and take them for a field trip to visit our crafts, to visit the different industries that are out there. Again, nothing wrong with being a fireman, but not everybody's going to be a fireman. But because that's what they saw when they're 8, 9, 10 years old, that's what they're going to remember. Why don't you show them how a crane works? Man, those things are bad. Show them how power tools work. They're gonna remember that. So this is a challenge to all of us. We talk about juniors and we talk about seniors. I think we got that down. We're starting to get that down. Let's start talking about our 5th and our 6th graders, and let's take them on field trips. Let's talk to our unions. Let's talk to our companies, our HVAC. Hey, can we bring our 4th and 5th graders for a field trip to see what you guys do? It's going to pay off 5 or 6, 7 years later. That's a great observation, and thanks for supporting that. Any other questions, anything that we can answer? And if not, Everybody be safe. I'm going to be driving 6 hours. If you see us stranded on the road, please give us a ride because it's a long drive. So if you see me with my tie swinging it around, please, give me a lift. But thanks, you guys. Thanks for your attention. Am I waiting for Desi? It's all right. Take your time. All right, cheer her on. All right, never mind. She's running. She's running.
Is this mic on? I did want to mention one thing, and Ann and I feel like we're proud parents this week. Crosby is also another one of our apprenticeship navigators, so we've been so excited to see several of our navigators on the stage today speaking about all the great things going on in their projects and their partnerships. So we're just like, oh my gosh, your kids are growing up. They're so great. So kudos, Crosby. Great panel.
And we're so proud that so many of you have stayed. We're so proud that so many have joined us in this. We actually feel like this is our best conference ever, but we always feel that way. So that's an internal thing. You are going to be getting a survey probably next week, Ann. We want you to tell us the truth of what you want, but she's going to put a comment section in there. We want to hear what we can do better. We know we're not perfect, but we need to know what you want, and we want to bring it to you. Be reasonable, but tell us what you want. And would you give these people one more hand? And thank y'all very much. And then we have two of our commissioners that are going to say goodbye to us and tell you and invite you back to our next one. We don't have the place secured or the actual dates yet, but we are going to go probably to San Antonio next year and then make a suggestion where you want it after that. So write that on the form and we'll take tack marks, okay? We do want to spread it around the state. We've really enjoyed the hospitality of South Texas. Commissioner Alvarez said it would be great. I've enjoyed visits to McAllen. I did not know how it would be, but everything I've heard has been great and wonderful, and South Texas has been a wonderful host. But Commissioner Alvarez, could you please come out and close us up? And Commissioner Demerson promised he'd be right back in. There he comes, as he promised. Since he's already walking up, and we can see him better than you, because you're too short. He's a little taller. I'm going to leave the room because he's going to torch me for sure. So our commissioners are going to say, or at least two of them, sorry, the other one had other commitments, but they've stayed with us and they'll say goodbye. And please come and join us again. Thank you so much. Such a privilege.
Buenos dias, buenos dias. Let's give Desi a round of applause. Desi and that entire team. This has been an amazing conference. I mean, we started out on Wednesday with our Texas Interns Unite Rally in the Valley. And so we've been rallying in the Valley the entire time, and it's been pretty exciting. And to come to McAllen and with this hospitality has been pretty phenomenal. And so I just want to give that team, Julia Mercado and her team, the conference team that's out here, Julio and all these guys that are taking pictures, let's give them a round of applause as well. They're under the leadership of our phenomenal executive director, Ed Cerna. Ed's over here. Let's give Ed a round of applause, and I'm going to be giving a lot of that. That's not a smile, Ed. He must be wore out over there. He's thinking of activities and the like. And then I see Carrie Ballas here as well. Carrie, thank you for all that you do, boots on the ground. So Carrie, just wave your hand as well. And that's Carrie Ballas with the team. I'm between you guys getting out of here as well. And so before we bring up the other commissioner, I wanted to just thank Commissioner Alvarez for hosting us with dinner. Last night I see Ashley Holt and Shantae. Thank you guys for joining us last night from Dallas College. And we had a phenomenal time at dinner and just a phenomenal time here. This has been amazing. I represent the employers here in the great state of Texas, and we're looking forward to collaborating as always, with our commissioner representing the employees as we really make sure that companies in Texas, again, don't leave our great state because they can't find the talented pipeline of talent that they need for their respective organizations. Walked in this morning. I don't know if Ora Geis is here. Is Ora still here? Ora's in the back there. What a way to get started. Not only were we taking pictures, but Ora prayed for me as well and prayed for this conference and prayed for activities to go forward in some big, big ways. And that just shows what we have here as it relates to family here in our great state of Texas. And so activities like this don't just take place because they take place. They take place because of a reason, and that's a person. In this particular case, we are doing some phenomenal work statewide, but even more so, the work that's happening here in the Valley is taking place. And we have a commissioner that happens to be from the Valley. And I'm going to talk about Commissioner Julian Alvarez. Happens to be from the Valley, and so from that standpoint, he serves statewide. But wherever you're from, I'm from San Antonio, so of course, you're always going to be partial to that particular area. And so activities that have been happening here with the programs that we have been pretty phenomenal. I refer to Commissioner Alvarez as the Texas Tornado, but he's a guy about action. That's right, the Texas Tornado. He gets a lot of laughs out of that. But I refer to him in that regard because of how active he is and moving, and not only just talking about things, but really placing that into action. And hopefully over the past couple of days, you've heard some of the initiatives that are out there. And he doesn't want me bragging on them in that regard. But in Texas, we always say it ain't bragging if it's true. You know, the fact of the matter is that these are actual results, things that are taking place, and I'll leave and bring him up to the stage, but just kind of share a story in regards to activities that are happening in this region. And things, again, I don't want to belittle the fact that things are happening on a statewide basis, but here in particular, we have a program that's called a JET program, and it benefits you guys on the apprenticeship side as well. But there was a time when projects weren't taking place here, not as much. And we had conversations with some of the elected officials and the like, and really just came back with a laser-like focus on doing some things. And if you look at a number of the grants that are done, the dollar amounts are pretty phenomenal in regards to what we're doing. Thank you guys again for being out here with us, for sharing with you. Bryce, thank you, all of you guys for what you're doing in that space. And we don't take it for granted. These things happen for a reason, but they couldn't happen without the boots on the ground, and that's the folks that are in this audience. And so I want to give you guys a round of applause, give yourselves a round of applause for all that you do in this space. And so I want to wish you blessings on you as you travel back to your respective locations. Remember, Governor gives us the green light as commissioners to take care of business, and we're doing exactly just that. We can't do it unless we're hearing from you. I've been very excited about the relationships that we're building, the potential that we have to do even more as we're going forward. And so with that, I'm going to bring to the stage my fellow commissioner, Julian Alvarez, better known as the Texas Tornado. The only commissioner I've ever known to have a beer named after him. Commissioner Alvarez.
All right, so thank you. I know everybody's just dying to go. So one of the things that I did want to remind you, again, Commissioner Demerson, thank you for the kind words. It's been a pleasure to work with Commissioner Demerson since I was first appointed. It's kind of exciting because in 2016, Governor Abbott appointed me to this position, and I think one of the first things we did, I know Dale Robertson's here, and Aaron Demerson and I, we traveled the Rio Grande Valley, and it was unfortunate that a lot of the folks here in South Texas weren't aware of all the great programs and the fine institutions that we had here, anything south of San Antonio, like Del Mar or South Texas College or RGB College or, Valley Grande Institute or UTRGV, all these fine colleges that were down here, we just, nobody ever identified us. And so I take this opportunity to thank you, Commissioner Demerson, for your friendship. For those that don't know, my term ends in 2023 of February, so I haven't made that distinction of whether or what I'm going to do in the future, but I do want you to know that since I've been here, the only thing I always talk about is all the great things that are happening in this great state, and all of you all have great success stories. You all have great success stories that I've been able to brag about in other parts of the country, and will continue to do that, and I appreciate everything that you have done. We got great leadership. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Desi, Ann Fan, and of course Tara, and the rest of her new members of her team who have done an amazing job at this conference and really have elevated the apprenticeship program to the next level. I mean, it's so elevated that we've gotten the attention, as Dudley and Lee have told us, that it's at the national level, and all of you are a big part of that. So, in closing, I do want to thank you all. I ask that you guys drive safely. Thank you for what you do for apprenticeship. Thank you for what you do for those individuals that are really, right now, not knowing what they want to do. Thank you for providing them opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, just remember that words have meaning. So when someone talks about apprenticeshable occupations, that doesn't mean that they couldn't go to a four-year institution, or that doesn't mean that they couldn't make it anywhere else. It just means that this is what they wanted to do. So keep encouraging these folks and keep being innovative. What's the worst thing that could happen? You know, we have folks here, we had a vendor here that was showing us virtual reality headsets, and we have another company like TransVR. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen if you purchase these or if you ask for it? Go for it and see what it's like for these students to experience the reality. I mean, because let me tell you, the future's there. I was telling Demerson that one of these days I'm going to do one of these conferences and I'm going to be an avatar. I want to do it where I'm actually sitting down and it's going to be projected that I'm here, because that's what's happening at San Jac, if I'm not mistaken, with Sally Kay. I mean, those are just things that are happening before our very eyes. But we need to make sure that school education is exciting for our young adults. So I do ask, I've learned this from my good friend Paul Puente and Wayne Lord, who are part of the AFL-CIO family that I'm a member of. Very proud of the folks that I deal with. When you leave here and you check out of your hotel, please don't forget to thank those individuals that cleaned your room, right? And to make sure you had a nice place to stay and that took care of you. Leave them a little tip, and if you don't have any money, just write them a little note that says, thank you for a clean room and for a great stay in South Texas. So to all of you, have a safe trip back. We look forward to seeing you next year. And again, thank you for all you do to serve our great state of Texas. Thank you.